Hey, what's up, guys? Joker here. Talking about my thoughts on the Shadowbringers expansion. I finished it. Finished the past quest pretty recently. Also got my relic weapon for my paladin. So just kind of giving me some general thoughts on the entire experience. I already made a video about Baja and Zadnor, so that takes it a little bit is away. I'm also gonna try to make a guide, like kind of going through like probably a more optimal way of having to get your relic weapon. So the relic stuff will kind of be pushed off there, but let me just give some general thought about Shadowbringers, some non-spoiler ones. As the title says in the video, it's like I think this is the best expansion in the game. I know a lot of people they go between Heaven's Sword and Shadowbringers. Someone in my free company I know is like big about Heaven's Sword, but uh, for me, I feel like Shadowbringers is probably just the best expansion because the story just is so interesting and so just kind of like makes you think. The whole theme about light and dark. Generally, you think dark is a bad thing. Generally that's what it is. But like too much of one thing is bad. That's also a general theme that you see through a lot of things. And in this world, in the first, where you go, it's not really a spoiler. Um, the light is thought of as being bad because it's just consumed the world. I find it so interesting, and honestly, like, I don't think I've seen like really anything thematically that explores that light can actually be bad besides Yu-Gi-Oh! GX. Like the second season, where like literally the bad guy is called the light, and all these people get brainwashed into being like, the light is good and shit like that. It's like that was really like interesting, and it was like Yu-Gi-Oh doing it, which was like kind of funny. It was like back then I remember that being like one of my more favorite seasons of Yu-Gi-Oh too, because it was like such a weird thematic thing to go into. Um, Bringing it back to Final Fantasy, I mean everything like just improved. But from my experience, the tank has always been the same. But I know in Shadowbringers they changed the tank stance to where it's just one button. That's cool. I mean, like for me, having that all the time, playing as a tank most of the time, it's like that was really that's just an amazing thing. I actually thought they had that from the beginning, but introducing it in Shadowbringers that just makes it even better. And then going into it, and the characters you meet in the first honestly are really interesting. It's like you don't really see these people, you're not really introduced to them like in other expansions. The patch quests before would introduce you to characters, so it was like weird going into this new world and then having to meet your supporting cast then and then. It's like, how are you gonna feel about them, how are you gonna like them? It's like I liked everyone. um and then you look at the combat, the boss fights. I really liked all of them. The music again is great. This is just the best expansion in my opinion, and hopefully Endwalker can top it. I mean, in a few months we'll see. Um, Honestly, Final Fantasy expansions to me it comes down to story because everything is gonna be everything to me was the same because it is just the same. Music's always gonna be good. The combat for me was the same because I really didn't interact with too many different patches. That's why I can't really comment too much on combat. It's the same just in general to me because of the experience I had. Um, but yeah, thematically, I felt like this was the best story. Um, Not again in the spoilers because I want to talk about the story so bad. It's like this is spoiler time. Introducing Zolas, who's later Emmett Selk. I mean, obviously Emmett Selk. I mean, like, oh, who's Emmett Selk? Oh, this random guy comes out. It's like, it's like that was another thing from Stormblood, but it's like having him be there and like not necessarily be a bad guy, but then and be a bad guy. It's like he was like really interesting. Gave you like the background perspective of like, wow, maybe Zodiac isn't that bad of an entity. It was Heidelin. And then like going more into Heidelin and Zodiac, I thought was really fascinating. We're just flushing out something like Heidelin you've always thought of as a good person, good god or whatever. It's like no, she's just a primal like Zodiac, like all the others. She's not a good thing. In the patch quest too, when you like when Elidibus is around in Arbert's body, and you're seeing all this, he's like messing with things, and it's like, oh, Heidelin kind of is like just generally someone who's trying to reach out and take as many people as possible just so she can be boosted in her power. And it's like you're starting to realize, wow, the light just in general isn't good. Like we have to make the good for ourselves and determine that. And you see that throughout the entire story. Like, with Fatty, I can't remember his name right now, but he turns into like like basically Jesus. But like, man, I can't remember his name. I just kept calling him Fat Ass the entire time. But like, seeing him, he was like literally bred because of Emmett Selk to be light incarnate. And it's like entitled. It's like, no, the light is good. This is these light wardens, these sin eaters. They're good because like from birth, that was what he was told, mostly because Emmett Selk manipulated his dad and him, um, and it kind of just warped his brain. It was kind of interesting. Like all those trials were like, all the trials I think were very interesting. Titania, she got warped by the light, and they had to make a new fairy queen. Same with Fatty. The light warped him and warped his thoughts, and he thought he was the right thing. He was supposed to usher in the right path for the first. Well, he was completely wrong because he was insane, and he almost destroyed the entire world. Um, it was kind of interesting seeing the people in the world, how they felt about light, and then towards the end too, it's like they didn't. It was weird, like Minthelia, they liked the Oracle of Light, but they hated the Warriors of Light because the Warriors of Light obviously caused this entire disaster. But they kept looking for Minthelia. That's where they kept looking for that blonde girl with blue eyes, and then they would just send her to die all the time in the Sin Eaters. I think that's why that guy who kept chasing after Minthelia and teaching her, he wanted it to end in the end because he was like, I kept watching this girl I trained all her life die, and I can see why he was royal the Fatty for that reason. It's just like he wanted the cycle to stop, and he felt like Yomo's path was the best rather than trying to restore the darkness and restore balance to the world. I think at the end the writing was just so good. It was just about, you need balance in your life. You can't just have impotent greed like it was shown in Yomo. Like everyone was fat because they all were just sloths. They all were greed. It's like talking about the seven deadly sins type of thing. Or it's like greed, sloth, uh, not lust, but generally, but like what was it called? I can't remember that other one. Where it's like overindulging yourself. You need to have balance in your life where it's like everyone can have this share in the wealth, not just like hoard it away. That's what Yoma started to do, and they just all just started to denigrate. Their lives just started to degrade over time. And then you see in the end, the patch quests, in the quests at the end where they're all trying to unite and help each other. Everyone comes together for a common cause, and then they all succeed. It's like that. Honestly, that was just cool to see. Like, and it's all people you've never met, and it's like you're not caring for them like as deeply as some other people, like how you saw Raban or Lise throughout the entirety of A Realm Reborn, Heaven's Ward, and then they come to Stormblood and they actually, something good happens to them. But it's like just people coming together, just banding together and doing something good. Um, I thought that Amarat stuff was also really interesting, like learning about the beginning of the world when it was all one. There were all these like super tall beings. They all were like in harmony. They were all like super smart people. And then it's like, oh, they're faced with a world-ending dilemma. It's like, how do they deal with it? And so that's what the Ossians had to do. They had to make a choice that would affect their lives, and they summoned Zodiark, who averted the calamity. But then people were like, "Oh, this thing is here. How do we deal with it? Because this guy can just literally destroy the world if he wanted to." So out of that fear, other people made Heidelin, and Heidelin broke the balance. And then you see all those Ossians, like the Unsundered, as Emmett Selk, Elidibus, and La Habrea. They all just wanted that world back, and you can kind of understand that. It's like they're not generally bad. They're just bad from the perspective of you, the character, because you're trying to protect what you have, just as they were trying to protect what they had. And it's kind of interesting. Like every you hear that thing, it's like you're only the bad guy if you lose, because then the losers, they don't write a history, the winners do. Um, the Aussians generally aren't bad. At least those three weren't bad, because all they wanted was their world restored and all their friends and family returned back. And like I think anyone can understand that. It's like if you lose all those people, it's like what do you have? Those three were just living an immortal life without people they wanted to see again. And from a perspective, it was weird. I honestly thought that wasn't gonna hit. I saw that was throughout the story. You kind of see that's what they're trying to make you do, make you feel bad for Emmett Self. It's like I did feel bad for him. He lost his friends and family, but I think he stole it. It was like it's like we want to protect what we have too, and it's like what right do you guys have to like take it away from us? And it's like I saw that point too. It's like that was a great point again too. It's like what makes you think your lives were worth more than ours? And Emmett Till was like we were perfection, and it's like I thought it was good points on both sides. It makes you actually think about things more than just seeing the story presented to yourself and just droning on. It's like, oh, maybe they have a point. They're still bad, but they have a point, and they're not generally doing it maliciously. I thought at the end that Hades fight was sick, where he's like, my true name is Hades. I'm like, oh shit, that was cool. And then Elidibus in the patch quest. Um, it's kind of weird. He was supposed to be like a non-partisan person, and then it's like, oh, he's like going on this path. But it was fine because it was like, oh, he was like he knows what the light is because he was the original warrior of the light. He was the original guy who saved the world and binded the Zodiac in order to save the world. It's like he actually was a hero, and that's like that was cool. That fight too is like he was the warrior of light, the original one, and that fight was sick. I mean, that transition phase and stuff like that kind of bogged it down, but like where it's like he's like making his ultimate move and he has all those other warriors of light near him and he's like smashes. That was kind of cool. And also like in both those fights where it's like Arbert comes and he's like, yo, I'll help you out, and then you summon the rest of your party and it's like pew pew pew, other warriors of darkness come up and stuff like that. I thought that was cool. I thought the Crystal Exarch was a great character. um I thought he was going to be Alpha Node the entire time. I don't know why, but I completely forgot about Grati, and seeing him come back, it's like, oh, that could have been pretty obvious because it's like they make you play the Crystal Tower series, and how Emmett Selk was like, oh, yeah, you have to have Allegon blood in order to operate this tower. It's like how he figured it out was kind of was cool because he founded Alleg too, and Garlemald, so it's like he knew what was happening the entire time as well. Emmett Silk was just like in general a very good character. I thought. Seeing him die was really sad, but like seeing how, like even when they were talking with Elizabeth, it was like, no, they want to like carry on Emmett Silk's hope and like try to keep this world going on. Emmett Silk wasn't generally I don't say Emmett Silk was a bad guy. He just I mean that's why he made Amaran anyway. In the first, he just wanted his life back. And he was thrust onto this council just there. And then you also kind of feel for Elidibus too. It's like he had this situation thrown upon him too, where he had to take the reins of all those people and like try to build back his home. And then you get deeper and deeper in the patch quests, and it's like definitely setting up Endwalker. It's like how this is going. It's like, oh, dude, this is badass. Just seeing Estinian flying in all the time, just like fucking people up. That was just sick. Fan Daniel, I find it weird. This is the only quip or problem I have with Shadowbringers is and Daniel. It's kind of like weird how like yeah, La Brea was crazy and shit like that, but like he was kind of like crazy, but like he had a goal. And then you also like are directly coming off Emmett Silk and Elidibus, who have goals that aren't crazy. It's just like they're kind of noble in their own way, and they're not like super mad dudes who are like, oh, we want to destroy the world because we want to destroy the world. They wanted to destroy the world in a sense in order to bring back their own world. And we perfect the world. But Fandaniel was like, nah, I just kind of want to destroy the world because I want to destroy the world and kill myself. It's like, okay, dude, so if you wanted to just kill yourself, how about you just take some white orsite, give it to me, and then let me shoot you with a blade of light when you're in the white orsite. I mean, there you go. I mean, like, no, this dude's like, oh yeah, I want to destroy the world to destroy the world. That was the one thing where it's like, you went from two really cool villains to one villain who's just really shittily written, and then Xenos is just a badass in general. Like, this dude's just like, yo man, I just want to fuck people. I just want to fight the Warrior of Light. I just want to fight him again because he made me feel. And then him killing Varys was pretty funny too. I mean, Varys was like just a bitch in the end. I mean, like it was so weird. Like Varys was just like a weird character to me in general. Is like he's so badass looking, but then he's just a bitch in the end. It's like he never sat on his throne. He never did anything really anything because he was just following the Ossian's plan the entire time. I mean, it was just kind of weird. Like Xenos to me was just way more engaging, and that's why I'm like really glad they kept Xenos alive in the end, because it's like Xenos was like a way better boss. And then seeing him with the scythe, I'm like, dude, I'm playing Reaper, fucking, and in Endwalker I'm playing Reaper. Like my main class is Paladin, but you know my main DPS might be fucking Reaper because like that looks sick as fuck. Like Sage, I don't give a shit about. I'm not a healing type guy. Um, but yeah, that was my thoughts. I mean, like the whole thing was like, oh yeah, you know, the raids. Eden's Promise, I liked a lot. I mean, you know, thought it was a really cool thing. That other Ossian, again, the guy I just can't remember. It's a totally forgettable dude. But like his reasoning for like he wasn't really generally a bad guy. He just wanted the person he loved to be back with him. Like that was who Gaia was. It was like, okay, at least you have a reason again for not being totally bad. It's just what you're doing is bad. Um, the near raids were really cool. I liked that crossover a lot because I like near Autonoma a lot. I'm gonna be playing near Replicant probably in the future. Um, but yeah, both the raids I thought were excellent. You know, going into the relic weapon, you know, I never gotten a relic weapon before because it was like there's no point besides glamour. Now I'm going back and getting some. The blade one was my first one. Yeah, it's a giant time sink, but that's the point. You're getting the best weapon in the game. It should be a time sink. Um, you know, some things like how I talked about in the Baja, it's like playing through the animal one. There is like part of me who's like, actually, this Baja Zadnor thing is better as a relic thing because it's an interesting mode to keep playing rather than, oh, I have to find this currency or I have to wait a few weeks because I can't get this currency. So it's like kind of split. Like the animal weapon, I have to use a shitload of poetics or seals or something like that in order to buy stuff that you need. Luckily, I was planning ahead because I was like I was capping on poetics all the time. I was like, hey, what do I use this for? And Google, and that spurred out like, hey, just get your anime weapon shit. So it's not as bad for me, but it's kind of weird. I hate to say this after shitting on Baja and Xanor, but like I actually do kind of prefer the Baja Xanor way because it allows me to do it a lot of ways. Hey, I can do fate farming, which is not terrible. It's XP. You get seals, which is take it or leave it. At least you're getting something because the guild is crap. Um, you can put on you can just put on a podcast. You can put on a movie for the love of God, and get this stuff. It's really quick too. You can do this a lot faster. I mean, the drops for me were good. I mean, I just got my samurais very quickly on that first step where you're forming fates and Corthus and stuff like that. Um, but yeah, generally, I do think this was the best expansion, mostly because I experienced way more. Like in the other expansions, I didn't really experience getting my relic. I didn't really experience the raids that were like on level, and you not. It's not just like a joke because everybody knows what they're doing. It's like, oh no. I mean, like the raids were easy, just in general. Like I think I didn't. I think I wiped once or twice, maybe throughout the entirety of the not the alliance raids, the normal ones. Um, but yeah, just in general, I thought this story was just so good because it made me think more about like notions in life and stuff like that. It's kind of weird to say because it's a freaking game, but like, you know, too much of one thing is bad. There needs to be a balance in life, and I think that's just a good philosophical take. I know the writer, she did the Dark Knight quest. The Dark Knight quest for me is one of the better ones, and that's not saying much because most of them are pretty bad. I mean, the Paladin one I loved. The Paladin Gladiator one, I loved that one. The Archer one was shit, and that's what made me stop playing Archer. The Red Mage one is interesting to me so far. Samurai was really good. I actually think the Samurai one was better than the Dark Knight. Um, Also talking about how that brings me to like the job quest, just to bring that up, wrapping up after that. It's kind of disappointing, but I see their why they did it. They did it to save time because there's so many damn jobs. They can't make a specific job quest for each one because then the quality will fall down. I didn't really pay attention to the physical DPS or the tank one because it's just like I didn't really care. But I saw what they were doing. You were trying to go into the past of some of those warriors of darkness, warriors of light. And you know, I think that was a great way of handling it actually. So yeah, let me know what you guys actually thought of Shadowbringers. You liked it, you disliked it. Make sure to like the video, helps out. Please subscribe. Until next time, I'll see you guys later. Probably making a video about the relic. Bye.